Hi there, and welcome to the Oxbridge Formula. My name is Charlotte, and with me today I have Will, a second year Asian and Middle Eastern Studies student from Pembroke College, Cambridge. Will, thank you for being here today.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So today we're going to chat a bit about Pembroke College, what it's like, and answer all the questions you have had about it. So, Will, can you give us a quick rundown, top facts about Pembroke?
So Pembroke is a medium-sized college. We're right in the centre of Cambridge, even though some people will argue that we're not. We're really old. I think we're the second oldest college in all of Cambridge, founded in 1347, which is a number you seem to not be able to escape in and around. Pembroke is everywhere. We are famously a very pretty college. We've got a lot of gardens and a lot of kind of greenery and flowers, and it's very nice to kind of just spend time in Pembroke looking at it, because it's a beautiful place to be, right in the centre of Cambridge, and you wouldn't even know you're there.
Gorgeous. So you mentioned the location of Pembroke, slightly contentious. Is it central? Is it not?
See, well, it depends what you count as the centre of Cambridge, and I'm sure people at John's and Trinity and King's would think that is there. I mean, King's, yeah, we'll go with King's being the centre, but John's and Trinity would argue that it goes a bit further north up towards them, I think. Yeah, but we're right by the main shopping centre. It's literally a 2-minute walk away, as well as the Witherspoons. I think we're the second closest college to Spoons, maybe third. So, you know, prime location in my book, that one. Yeah, and we're really also very close to the humanities lecture site. It's only about a 7-minute speed walk for me from my room to my lectures, which is lovely.
Very convenient, nice. And so cast your mind back to your fetus days looking at Cambridge to choose a college. Did location factor into your decision?
It definitely did. I was considering would I prefer to be in one of the colleges that are closer to the centre, or some of the colleges are a little bit further out. We tend to call them the hill colleges. There's kind of a group of them that are probably about a 20-minute walk, 15-20-minute walk away from the city centre, as opposed to being right in it. And then there's Homerton, which is another college, which is kind of a little bit more further out, but the other way. And then there's Girton, which is kind of in another league and is the butt of all kind of jokes on campus, really, for being so far. But I'm also assured that it's not actually that far either, despite having never been myself, I must admit.
It's too far, such a trek.
Exactly, I need a bike, which isn't too much to ask, but alas, I don't have one.
Nice. And so, as you're choosing, location was important to you. What else did you consider?
I considered kind of what the sort of vibe of the college was like. So was it kind of friendly? Were the students like, I mean, all the colleges that I did look at, I didn't look at too many in fairness, but the ones that I did look at, the students did all seem really friendly and eager to help and talk to you and answer questions. But I guess I think the people at Pembroke really stood out as like really friendly and were just kind of like made me feel really welcome in the college environment. I also looked at the sort of academics that were involved, because I do quite a niche course doing Asian Middle Eastern Studies. So that's another consideration with that, is seeing, are the academics that actually teach your subject or are in your section of the faculty, are they actually at your college? Because there's a likelihood that they may not be, as there aren't that many academics, because it's such a small faculty. Yeah.
Nice. And were there any other colleges you seriously considered?
Yeah, so I was, in the end, umming and ahhing between Pembroke and St Catherine's. And they're both very close to each other. St Cat's is just a little bit smaller than Pembroke, kind of sort of on the ground, really. There's the kind of space of the college is a bit smaller. Although, having been there and seen both, I've got a friend at St Catherine's, and I think they're quite similar colleges in general. It is very hard to choose between them in the end. So I think it doesn't matter too much, and you will kind of fall in love with the college that you end up at, I imagine. Yeah, but for me, just kind of Pembroke sort of, it just felt like the right choice in the end, and everything lined up and ticked the boxes for me. But also had that kind of I would want to live here factor.
Nice. There aren't any regrets then?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I think sometimes you kind of, being at like maybe a medium-sized college, you're kind of like, would I want to be at one of the massive colleges, or would I actually prefer a smaller college? There's always kind of that, what if I was somewhere else sort of thought. But they're brief, they're fleeting. I think I've gone through every college in my mind and gone, maybe I would like to be there. But I always come back around to Pembroke and think, actually, no, it's a really lovely place to live and study. Like the people are amazing as well. Everyone's so friendly. Yeah, it's just a lovely community to be part of at Pembroke.
Nice. Yeah. You mentioned how it's got this reputation for being quite a friendly, quite community-based college. How do you feel that's represented around campus?
Strangely enough, I actually went to I went out at the start of this year, and someone at the pre-drink said to me, "You are the first person I've met from Pembroke, and I've been here a year." So apparently, we don't actually get out that much. Maybe we're all just friends with each other. I'm not sure, but I think that has a certain kind of level of truth to it. Perhaps I think Pembroke people are quite. A lot of us are friends with each other. Because I do a small course as well, I've had the opportunity to meet people outside of college. So my friends also tend to be, I meet people from different colleges all the time. So I think it really, it depends how involved you get with like societies, and also what course you end up doing as to how much time you spend with people from other colleges. But I think people generally have good things to say about Pembroke from what I've heard. At least that's what they say to my face. So
certainly. No, it's so interesting that you were, the first person they met from Pembroke. Although it is like a reasonably big college, it's not,
Yeah, it was a bit. I was a bit like, really, it's strange at first, but I don't not see it at the same time. So I think it's a strange. The college system's great in that you have this kind of ready-made sort of group where you can quite easily find friends, but also it can sometimes be a little bit difficult to kind of reach outside of that bubble and kind of make friends with other people at different colleges. But it's certainly not impossible. It's just it requires a little bit more effort, I think, to make that step and kind of start making friends with people outside of college.
Yeah, and how do you balance that, having friends sort of all in college versus trying to reach out and meet new people?
It's hard. I think a lot of people feel I know, speaking to my other friends from other colleges, we all kind of feel sort of not caught between the two, but you've got to weigh it up and sort of share out your time and make sure that you're kind of and kind of spend. Sorry, this is going very wrong. I just have my mom and now I'm just like trying to hear whether they're about to enter the kitchen. While also trying to say something that's not going to offend all of my friends. I might start that answer again with something a little bit more.
Go for it.
Makes more sense. I'm going to go and tell them to shut up as well. Okay, it's fine. Where were we? Friends, balancing friends. Okay. It's definitely quite a difficult one. I think for me, it was just about spending, the time. You spend a lot of time in college naturally because it's where you live and you'll see your college friends a lot. And I think it's quite natural for different friend groups to want to spend time with you and kind of cement that friendship. And you can kind of feel like you're kind of between the two a little bit, but I don't think it's something you should worry about too much. I've never kind of found that people have like resented me for like not spending enough time with them or anything. It's one of those things. And I think, I've introduced my like out of college friends to my college friends, and it's really nice to kind of have that mix and to kind of gel in that way.
Nice, excellent. So you mentioned it's quite easy to spend, a lot of your time in college because obviously everything you want is there. Do you think that's true for Pembroke? You know, do you feel like you've got everything you need on site?
Yeah, pretty much. I think, well, I say pretty much. Oh God, I'm being interviewed, Dad. I'm really sorry. Where was I? I'll start again. Apologies. It's all right. So, Pembroke. Yeah, like Pembroke does pretty much kind of have it all, I think, in terms of a college. I think the only thing we're lacking is a really nice bar, but things are changing over the summer, I've been assured. That is kind of the bugbear of most Pembroke students, is we don't have an amazing common room space and bar, but we complain about it so much that I think something is happening now, which is positive for future students and us as well. When I go back, I can't wait. But the food at Pembroke is what we're famous for. We call it trough, but I think it's officially the buttery or the servery or something, but everyone just calls it trough, which is slightly strange. It's part of the whole Cambridge vocabulary, which I thought I would never use in my life, and then within 2 weeks, it was fluent.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the food at Pembroke is really, really good. Especially if you've gone to other colleges and you come back, you really realise how well looked after we are at Pembroke, which is lovely. But yeah, I think Pembroke, we've got a gym, we've got a really nice library. We've not got things in excess. We're not one of the colleges that has a cinema, for example, but you know, we've got everything you might need to just have a really kind of great existence at Pembroke. Really, it's yeah.
There you go. I've got a title for this now: A Great Existence, Pembroke, Cambridge. Tell me a bit more about the food, though. That's so interesting. You remarked that like it is noticeably better than other colleges. You know.
Yeah, everybody wants to come to Pembroke Formal is the kind of thing I've found. If I make new friends, it's like, can we come for a formal? There's a rumour that has spread around Cambridge, and I think is still spread around Cambridge, despite it being really untrue, is that we have a Michelin star chef or an ex-Michelin star chef. I don't know where it came from. We don't. But we do have really good food nonetheless. Yeah, it's just, I think it's something that is really valued by the college and something that students really appreciate. So it's something that we've kind of kept up. But yeah, I really like it. It means that, you know, if I don't fancy cooking, then trough is there and it's easy to go to and it's a nice meal. And I don't feel like I'm dreading having to like eat the food, which is always nice.
What are some like highlights of trough food?
What do I like? They do a really nice risotto, actually. They've done a really good chicken jambalaya as well. What else have they? Just everything really. Like the meatballs as well. I love the meatballs. They're about this big.
Nice.
Brilliant. But yeah, there's such like a wide selection as well. There's always a vegan option. There's always kind of vegetarian options, gluten-free options. They're very, very kind of, they cater for all, and they really, you know, it's a really good kind of selection of food, which is always nice. Oh, and the brownies, actually, they're the best. Brownie day, brilliant.
Which day is brownie day?
You can never predict it. They just kind of come. Like if you look online and you look at the menu for the day and brownie is on there, you just know it's going to be a good one. So, yeah.
Incredible. And do you feel like you're getting your money's worth in trough? Are you paying, you know, the right amount for this big of a meatball?
Yeah, most of the time I think it's fairly priced. We pay a kitchen fixed charge every term, so that we get a subsidy on the price of the food, which kind of brings the food to sort of a normal price as opposed to a really expensive price in college. Yeah, I think it's a constant one that's kind of up for debate a lot about the pricing. And I think there's always the price of the meal available. And I think sometimes it feels like you're paying more for what you're actually getting, but the way they cost it up is through the ingredients that they use and all of that. But I think generally, yeah, I would say it's a pretty fairly priced.
Nice. So, I mean, you might not be able to recall this just like off the top of your head, but do you know how much that like kitchen fee is at the beginning and how much sort of your regular meal would be?
So the kitchen fee, it changes every year, actually. It's kind of in line with the rent. It's 100 and something. I'm not entirely sure. I can't remember. It's not more than 200, and it's more than 100. So it's in
We've got a margin.
Bracket. And I think, do you know what? I'm really unsure. And then I would generally pay probably around like £3 to £4 for a meal. If I get like a dessert or a drink with it, it probably comes to around £3 to £4. You can get it down below that quite easily by not having a drink or a dessert. But the moment I see the brownie, I'm a stickler for it. And I'm like, yes, please.
That's understandable. No one would expect any less of you. Never fear. So are you a big one for eating in trough then, as opposed to cooking?
Yeah, I think my friends would potentially apply the label lazy to my...
This word has been floated.
But yeah, I'm not a massive fan of cooking. So it's actually really nice to have trough there. And
your dog is also enthused. This is a great sign.
This is true. Ted doesn't like cooking either, clearly. Yeah. So it's nice that, I mean, where I lived last year, I could get 2 trough without having to go outside, which was brilliant. But my friends all lived outside of college last year. So the balance was I would have to go to trough by myself more than which is nice. There's the community aspect comes in. You can kind of sit down with anyone and have a chat. But yeah, I am quite lazy, so I will often go to trough for dinner because especially if I've got an essay due or I'm particularly busy, then trough seems a brilliant option. It is a brilliant option to just kind of have a quick meal, a good meal, a healthy meal, without having to worry too much about what you're going to cook yourself.
No, I mean, especially if you live seemingly right next door to it. Not bad.
Exactly. If you smell the food, it would be a shame not to get it.
Oh, how could you resist? That's unfair. So what is the kitchen situation like then?
So yeah, this is potentially where Pembroke falls down a little bit compared to other colleges, is our accommodation isn't the most beautiful you will ever see. But it's good. It does the job. And it's quite fairly priced for the time being. The kitchens are quite small generally, both in college and outside of college. We've got quite a lot of hostels as a college, so after first year, quite a lot of students live, outside of the college, but not too far generally. Quite a lot of them are within a 10-minute walking distance from college. The hostels tend to have bigger kitchens, but once again, not all of them. So it depends on the hostel.
Are they your out of college accommodation? Sorry.
Yeah. So out of college accommodation we call hostels. Again, not quite sure why. And they tend to have ovens and better cooking facilities. We don't have ovens in college. We just have a simple sort of electric hob microwave setup. Whereas some of the hostels do have ovens, which for quite a few people is quite a nice attractive prospect for kind of second and third year, is living somewhere where you can cook chicken nuggets.
People have priorities.
Exactly. It's something I do miss. I do miss chicken nuggets. Apparently you can pan fry them. I don't trust that.
That sounds salmonella-y.
That's what I thought. But I'm gonna leave the people that do it to themselves. They can
You
go
know
ahead.
of people doing this?
I have heard, and I've thought that's strange. I'm not going to do that. But you do that. Yeah.
And how far away are the hostels from Pembroke main site?
So the hostels are anywhere between about a 2 minute, like literally across the road from college, or I think the furthest out is probably a 20-25 minute walk.
Oh, quite a difference then. That's a full range.
Yeah. And then there's anything in between as well, pretty much. The majority of the hostels are kind of grouped together, so you'll find that either they're next door to each other or there's several on the same road, which is quite nice, so that groups can still be sort of in a college-esque community, if not slightly smaller pockets of them. I know quite a few people really appreciate the fact that we've got that we tend to live in hostels outside rather than in first year. You know, you're kind of nearer to different pubs, you're nearer to different shops, you're nearer to different other colleges, and potentially where your lectures are on the different lecture sites. And it does encourage quite a lot of Pembroke students to end up getting a bike as well in second and third year to get around if you're a little bit further out. I personally have lived in college in my second year. So there is also always the option to take a college room if one is available, even if you're not in first year. All first years are in college, but then second and third year, there is still the option to stay in college.
Nice. And how do you feel about this accommodation setup?
It's got its ups and its downs, definitely. It's nice to have that that you get this more freedom, I suppose, in a way, and you kind of live in a house and sort of get that experience, so you're not kind of stuck in the college, which I know for a lot of people is more appealing. The downside is you can sometimes find yourself slightly isolated from your friendship groups, especially given how the ballot is set up. So how we choose our rooms is it's by a random ballot. So half my friends were kind of mid-ballot, the other half were sort of bottom of the ballot. So then we ended up very different places this year, with me kind of in between them all in college. So it works, you make it work, but it can mean that actually in second year and third year, you're not necessarily all living too close together, but it does mean you put in that extra effort to kind of spend time with your friends. But also you get that alone time, which is the other upshot, is that you can spend time away from people and sort of have that wind down time.
Yeah, certainly. So you're off on your year abroad next year, but when you return to college, what are you hoping for in terms of final year accommodation?
Well, just something nice, actually. I don't mind too much. I don't want to be too far away from college. So I've not lived in a hostel yet, so I think that's something that I would definitely be interested in doing, as long as it's not too far away, which is kind of my main criteria, because I do really like college and spending time in college and working in the library there. So for me, that's quite a big factor, but there are quite a lot of the hostels that final year students tend to live in, which are very nearby. So I'll look at that, and also kind of who's around and see if there's any sort of friends I've made who are in the year below that are around and about.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I guess that's the disadvantage of doing a fourth year degree. You get to the end of that fourth year or the start of that fourth year, and it's like, who's left?
Yes. I'm reckoning with all of that at the moment, having like missed this last term due to being online. I'm now not going to spend any more time with my year group as a whole year group, which is, I mean, I knew it was coming, so it's not too bad, and I get a year abroad, so I can't really complain. But it is a slightly strange prospect that I'm not going to be spending my year with these same people.
Especially because you said you like spending time in college, being in that environment. Now be faced with not being there for so long.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be a great experience. I'm really looking forward to year abroad, but it will be interesting. It will be nice to come back, I'm sure. And again, it goes back to Pembroke being such a lovely community, is that I do feel like I've made friends in all different years. Um, and that is something that I really value, and the fact that I can just kind of talk to anyone around college and have a nice chat. So I'm not too worried about going back. Really going back to Pembroke, because I feel like, I will make new friends when I go back, which is in itself quite an exciting prospect.
Nice. Which, yeah, might be really helpful for people listening to this who may be thinking of applying for physics or, longer STEM degrees and think, I'm just going to be alone when everyone else leaves. Especially perhaps
Yeah.
medicine, where you're just there for all eternity. But no, Pembroke has got you covered.
Yeah. And you've got to bear in mind as well that you are going to be going back with your year group. So everyone else that does languages, I'll be back with them. And everyone else that, or like the engineers that do 4 years, you'll have all the engineers that do 4 years with you. So, and a lot of people do make friends in their subjects as well. So, chances are you will find yourself with friends in your year still in 4th year if you do a 4-year degree, just potentially not all of them.
No, certainly. So it's interesting here talking about yourself as a language student, about, the other STEM people around. What would you say the sort of STEM humanities split at Pembroke is like?
It's pretty 50-50, I think. If not a slight lean towards humanities, I think, recently. Only slight though. It does feel pretty 50-50. There's a big engineering cohort at Pembroke. It's very popular with engineering students because it's so close to the engineering department. But other than that, it's quite a varied sort of group. We do most subjects. This year we started doing geography again.
Geography always surprises me. A bunch of places don't offer geography, but it seems like such a staple subject in my head.
I know, I was a bit surprised when I got to Pembroke. I didn't understand why there weren't any geographers around to do it. But no, there are now 2 fresher geographers. So
a whole 2. Wow.
A whole 2, I know, but they'll be growing in number over the years to come, which will be nice to see. So yeah, the academic offering of Pembroke is pretty balanced. And we're not, there's other colleges in and around Cambridge that are notorious for leaning one way or the other. But we're pretty balanced at Pembroke, yeah.
And do you think there's an advantage to being more evenly balanced?
Definitely. I think you kind of get a wider range of opinions on things. It's all well and good humanities students having opinions and sharing them all based on their reading of the week, but then it's quite nice to hear the takes of sort of STEM students that haven't been couched in sort of heaps and heaps of theory that they've been going through all week, but instead sort of problem sheets, and they've got takes on things that are happening in the world as well. And it's interesting to kind of just hear sort of a wide range of opinions and a wide range of sort of approaches to things. And they also bring a slightly more, STEM students bring kind of the facts and the figures and the concrete sort of as it is to the debate, which I think I definitely lack with my inability to count.
There you go. All prospective STEM students looking at Pembroke, you can teach the humanities students basic maths. Yeah. So, sorry, you mentioned earlier you spend a lot of time in college, you like to hang around. So if I was like walk into Pembroke today, where would I find you?
Where would you find me in Pembroke? If the sun was out, which unfortunately here it is not, I would be sat on the bowling green at the back of college because it's summer, so we can sit on the slopes and kind of you can eat dinner out there, you can kind of do some work. Sunbathe a little bit, but as long as we don't look like we're sunbathing too much, they're fine with that. I don't know. Otherwise, I may well be in the library to get a little bit of work done that I've been putting off.
Getting done?
I know. But given it's summer, probably not, to be honest. I'll probably just go to grass.
Nice. And so the bowling green, is that a literal green for bowling on?
I've never seen anyone play bowls. I guess, on this green. I just know it's called the bowling green. It's a big bit of grass that you're not allowed to walk across in the middle of college, which is a little bit frustrating at times because you're like, I want to be there, but you've got to go all the way around. You get used to it though. I last year as well lived in red buildings, which are right on the front of college, and there's red buildings lawn, which is a little bit of grass, which is right in front, and we sat out and ate there a few times. That's the nice thing about the summer term is you can sit out on the grass around college, which in other terms you can't. And also people start playing croquet, which is the strangest, most surreal experience I think I've had, is me going out to get a shower and there just being people on the lawn outside playing croquet and me being like, is this a thing? And it turned out to be a thing. I still don't know how to play, to be honest, but it's one of those quirks of going to somewhere like Cambridge, I suppose, is people play croquet in summer term. So yeah.
No, absolutely, yeah. I think that is the most Cambridge thing anyone's ever said. Oh, I was just walking across the quad and someone was playing croquet.
It's an odd one, I would admit, but you just slowly accept that these things are the things that happen here, along with strange other little kind of quirks of kind of Cambridge life. You kind of feel like you've been transported back 50 years at points, but yeah, it's mad, but you know, that's Cambridge, I suppose.
Absolutely. Do you think Pembroke College itself has any of those like unique factors, weird things you do?
Oh, I don't know. I think we're not too bad really in terms of any kind of strange, weird traditions. Croquet for sure, I think, is one of them. I don't know how many colleges play croquet on their lawns in Easter, but we're definitely one of them, for better or for worse. I don't think so. We've got quite a few comedians that have come out of Pembroke. So and sort of actors. So I think we're quite, Tom Hiddleston went there. Who else? Eric Idle. Various other, I've forgotten the names of literally all of them there. Sort of famous, funny faces, I suppose. So yeah, maybe I haven't spotted any future comedians in my year. Sorry, guys.
No shade on your year at Pembroke.
But then again, I haven't actually gone to any of the smokers, so I don't know. But yeah, we do. Pardon? Oh, so a smoker in kind of Cambridge sort of world is like a comedy evening, and no smoking is involved. So the Footlights do them at the main ATC theatre. The Footlights is kind of the university comedy troupe. It's quite famous, and it's kind of quite a lot of the famous comedians we see on TV today. You'll kind of Google their Wikipedia page and then we're in the Footlights. And Pembroke has its own performance space called the New Cellars, and the theatre group is called the Pembroke Players. And also in that theatre space, from time to time there is a smoker, which is sort of like an improvised sort of short casual comedy evening where students get up and sort of do a little bit of stand-up. There's sort of wine and snacks, and people kind of just enjoy listening to people tell some questionable jokes at points, but some of them are actually very, very funny. I've been told. I should actually go to one, in all fairness.
Have you never been?
I have never been. I've never been. I have intended to go in the past, but somehow I've never ended up there. But yeah, no, it's. I suppose that is a quirk of Pembroke, is we have the players. So things, kind of performances get put on in college, with sort of Pembroke students often taking the sort of leading positions in that. Yeah.
Nice. Are they any good?
Again, I've never actually been to a Pembroke play.
Well, you're awful.
No, I know. So I can't really comment. and I'd hate to, but I've heard good things. I've heard really good things actually. And having kind of glanced over the reviews that I've seen in the newspaper on them, that they get that some of the ones this year especially have been really, really good. Yeah, I know the year below me are particularly Thesby. There's quite a few sort of theatre people in that year, so they've kind of given Pembroke Plays a bit of a new lease of life. I think my year was kind of lacking in sort of massive there was not large numbers of kind of theatre people in my year compared to other years, I think. So it's nice to see actually that it's kind of had a bit of a rebirth.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. So when you're not supporting college theatre or, wishing your peers on, what are you up to in college in the evenings?
So I will quite often be getting last minute work done, which is the sad fact of it, to be honest. But it kind of comes around to sort of like 10 p.m, 11 p.m. I'm like, no, switch off now. So I might go down to the bar and kind of see who's in there. So might meet a friend in there and get a drink or two. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, I don't know. What do? I feel like I go to the bar. In college, definitely, if I'm doing anything social, it will be in the bar. So hence why I'm very excited for the renovation. So it's a nicer place to be.
No, explain the situation with the bar. What's wrong with it?
So it sounds petty, I will admit. But I think the principal issue comes down to the fact that the walls are a horrific colour. I've discussed this at length with many, many, many people. And it's just not, currently, the space doesn't have enough of a sort of kind of bar vibe to it. It's kind of a bar come common room, but it's a little bit too common room and a little bit not bar enough. So
what?
Lovely spaces. So I think.
Sorry, you might have to repeat that. My Wi-Fi just did the thing, and you just stopped moving for like a solid 6 seconds. You just like cycle back to like the weird color of the walls of the bar.
Okay, yeah. So the walls are a strange color.
What color are they?
They're light blue, which doesn't sound too offensive, but it makes it a very bright space when we're kind of like need a little bit kind of. In there is essentially the main issue. You kind of look around Cambridge, and other colleges have had some bar renovations recently, and we're sort of looking at that and going, okay.
Needs work. Oh, hello. Sorry, I'm back. Yeah, it just went completely then. So
Okay,
if you wouldn't mind the bit about the bar one more time, like we've gotten so far that hopefully it's just.
Yeah. So it was kind of like the walls, but also then the furniture and the furnishings and the sort of decoration in there. We're looking to kind of just make a lot more sort of bar-like and a little bit more, just make it a really nice space to spend some time in. There's some really nice bars around Cambridge actually at different colleges, which we often look at as Pembroke students with a little bit of envy.
Is there any way you're modelling it on in particular?
I don't actually know. See, I'm on the bar committee, but I still don't know.
Fancy.
So we'll see. I think we're having a meeting very shortly about the sort of things that will be coming soon. But I'm just very excited. I'm excited to see what new is going to be coming, and hopefully a different wall colour. So yeah.
Absolutely. So you're on bar committee. That's exciting. Are there different committees for different aspects of college life?
Yeah. So I was the Entz Officer in my first year on the college JCR, which we call the JPC. There we go. There's a quirk of Pembroke. I've just thought of one. We don't have a common room. We have a junior parlour. And there's a lot of the rooms around Pembroke are called something parlour. I don't know why, but we've got a lot of parlours, and that kind of was stuck with the names. So we've got the JPC, which is the Junior Parlour Committee. And I was the Entz Officer, so I was in charge of kind of entertainment and BOP at in my first year, and then organising Freshers Week as well for this year. And kind of through that, I joined the bar committee, which is we don't have too many student run committees outside the JPC at the moment. That is one of them, mainly just kind of to discuss the sort of things that are going on with the bar and how we can make it a better place to be. So yeah.
Nice. And how easy is it to get involved in things like the JPC?
It's really easy. It's so easy. Like, there's so many chances to get involved. I got involved around sort of November time of my first year, so really early on. I was kind of just encouraged to apply and just go for it, and I did. There's never too many people that go for the positions, and you'll quite often find yourself applying for an uncontested position. And as such, it's very easy to get involved with sort of student politics on a very kind of college level, which is nice. And you can make a difference very close to home to stuff that affects you and your friends and sort of your daily life. But yeah, it's super easy to get involved with things to do the JPC, and I couldn't recommend it high enough. I've made so many friends through it. Got to know a little bit more about how the college actually works, which is always nice. And you kind of just, it's nice to get involved and kind of be part of something.
No, certainly. Are you looking at any higher up JPC positions as you go? Maybe president?
I did actually give president a thought at the start of the year, but decided against it, in all fairness. And yeah, we have an amazing president at the moment. She is like really amazing, and has done such a wonderful job. The JPC, actually all the JPC have done such an amazing job throughout the whole pandemic, with kind of keeping in touch with us and kind of keeping our college spirit alive, which is so hard to do. I'm so glad I'm not in their shoes, and that this didn't happen when I was Entz Officer, because it's so hard to kind of keep that when you're so far apart. But I think it just stands as like testament to how amazing the students are at Pembroke and how much they care, how much kind of effort and time went into it all. Yeah, I don't know, maybe I'll join the JPC when I come back in fourth year again, or apply for a position at the very least. I don't know, I do miss it. I considered applying for something again the moment my term finished. I was like, do I go for it? But I held back. But I have really missed it this year, in all fairness.
Oh, I bet. What sort of things did you put on as Entz Officer? What were your highlights?
Oh God. So
just for context for everyone listening, Entz is entertainment, so like events, parties.
Yes.
Oh, there you go. My Wi-Fi doesn't want to hear about it, but I do, I promise.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, my absolute highlight was Freshers Week for sure. It was such an amazing week. It was so much fun. Even if I wasn't the one, I was the one organising it. I really enjoyed it still, and just to kind of meet all the new freshers and sort of be involved in kind of making them feel welcome at Pembroke. That was just really lovely. Other than that, BOP, I think, has to be the one. So we have BOP about twice a term at the kind of start and end of term, and it's just a party essentially in the JP bar area. And yeah, any expectations you have for what it may be, lower them, because it is it's an interesting experience. When you're on sober welfare duty at them, it becomes even more interesting, but it's another story.
No, tell me those stories. What have you seen?
All sorts. It's yeah, I think drunk people forget that people that are sober around them are sober, so we'll remember everything. So yeah, the JPC collectively, we have seen some things from our college friends that I don't think they even remember, and we are really trying not to remember them.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I know Bob is. Oh, you haven't frozen. I thought you froze for a second. Yeah, Bob is just really good fun. It was really good fun to organise. I think my 2000s themed Bob was one of my favourite.
Did you go in costume as well?
Of sorts. I tried to look as horrifically 2007 as I possibly could. So.
What does that involve? Because my immediate thought is like tights under jean shorts.
So there was quite a lot of hair gel involved. There was a fair amount of kind of chunky sort of chain, like a chunky chain sort of thing. A shirt that was potentially a little bit too open, etc. Yeah, I tried harder for that one. I did go out shopping, but my budget did not allow me to go too overboard with the 2000s theme. Although I did make a Paris Hilton cardboard cutout, which I think was the highlight of my Entz career. Genuinely.
Wow. Okay, that is awesome. I mean, I've like been asking people about their different Bob costumes and things. The full-size inflatable canoe from someone at St John's, Oxford, was the top. That's a rival for it.
What was the theme for that?
She couldn't remember. The girl I asked. It was just the canoe.
So she just went to a nondescript Bob as a giant inflatable canoe.
No, she saw the canoe across the bar. Couldn't get to the bar. Giant canoe in the way. Disaster.
Oh wow.
Oh, speaking of, is there like a college drink that Pembroke boasts?
Yes, there is, but I can't remember.
Doubtful.
Yeah, this is the problem. The only thing I remember about it is it sounds terrible. So I've never had it. It's been described to me, and I've thought that is the worst combination of spirits that I think anyone has ever come up with. But I know some people do enjoy it. But yeah, I've forgotten the name and I've forgotten what's actually in it. But I think whiskey is in there somewhere among other things. So yeah.
Oh. Whiskey in a college cocktail sounds like an absolute killer. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Or is it bourbon? I'm not entirely sure. It's something that I steer well clear of. I'm like, no, it's fine. Just give me a cider.
You just get to watch the unfortunate incidents afterwards.
Indeed, exactly. No, maybe I'll have one in the new bar. Maybe I'll christen it with one of our awful Pembroke drinks. No, the drink selection is really good, but I have never had the specific Pembroke cocktail, I will admit.
There you go. Maybe you'll be brave enough in fourth year. If we all survive this global pandemic, maybe the drink is the next hurdle.
Yeah, I think potentially it's a shame. It would be a shame not to, actually, to graduate without having had it, I think. So.
Nice. So just as we wrap up now, reflecting on your time at Pembroke, your choices, do you think this was the right college for you?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think so. I love it. Like I couldn't imagine myself to be anywhere else at this point. I mean, I would also be really happy at other colleges. Like I've visited quite a few, and I've got friends at quite a few, and I think I would really like it here. But for sure, I think Pembroke, it just kind of feels right, and I feel like I'm kind of part of a community. And I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, really. I don't think so. So yeah, definitely, it's the right choice.
But if you had to pick another college to go to, what would it be?
Oh no, I feel like I'm kind of in the business of putting friendships on the line here. Let me think. I think I would just like maybe St. John's or Trinity, just for like the big rich college experience. Just I think I would like, endless kind of money would be lovely.
Do you not feel that from Pembroke? Is that
not endless? Then there is a lot of support out there for students. To be fair, they do a really good job of making sure that students that need support get it. But it's not quite the same level of support as John's and Trinity, I don't think. But yeah, that's just because I don't know. I just see some of the things and I'm just like, well, if only Pembroke had the funds. But yeah, it is. I don't know. It's a strange one. But yeah, I definitely go for like John's or Trinity just for the big kind of college experience, I think. Or maybe King's.
Maybe King's. Ooh.
They've got the big chapel, perhaps. I don't know. Maybe one on the river. See, I know I've gone through all of them. Pembroke isn't on the river, whereas I could have a river college.
What are like the top river colleges to look at?
So you could quite easily do all of them. There's not too many, but like John's and Trinity are both on the river. Magdalen is on the river. Queen's, I really like Queen's. Queen's is also on the river. I'm just making sure I name all of the ones my friends are at. So yeah, there's quite a mix actually around the river. Some of the smallest colleges are there, and some of the biggest colleges are there. So yeah, there's a real selection of colleges that are back onto the river. Yeah.
And if you had to pick, okay, so two colleges, one that is like the most similar to Pembroke and one is the most different, what would you say?
The one that's most similar. I definitely think St. Catherine's is quite similar to Pembroke. I think having kind of spent time with people at Cats and sort of the fact that when it came down to it, I was between Cats and Pembroke, I think kind of points that. Most different, I'd say perhaps I don't know, maybe like somewhere like Churchill. You're kind of talking about one of the newest colleges in Cambridge versus one of the oldest sort of things, and architecturally very different sort of vibe, and also location wise they're very, very different. So yeah.
Nice. Would you say Pembroke being old means it's quite traditional in that way?
Definitely, there is more a sense of tradition at the older colleges. I think that's for sure. But that being said, I even then not massively so. And I think some of the tradition that you do find at Pembroke is pretty universal around Cambridge. Yeah, somewhere like Cambridge, you can't really get away from the tradition, unless perhaps Kings, who like to rail against the sort of they don't have gowns and formals don't happen all that often sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely not. It's strange, and when you get there, it's like when I got there, it was particularly weird, like nothing I'd ever really experienced before. But at the same time, you kind of just kind of go along with it, and it's this strange experience that you're all kind of going through together. It's a bit of a weird one, but I mean, even now when I think about it, it's just odd. But I think that is the nature of traditions in a way. Sometimes they are just a bit odd, but yeah, whether they're more traditional or not, I'm not too sure, really.
And how about looking to the future? Do you think Pembroke makes quite a solid effort at trying to be progressive? And
I think our students definitely push the college to be quite progressive, especially the kind of people that do get involved with the JPC or involved in college decision making, and in pressuring college in certain decisions and in certain directions. There are some very sort of a lot of the students that get involved with that are very politically engaged and very kind of determined to making Pembroke and Cambridge a better place. The Cambridge Student Union president 2 years ago was from Pembroke. So there is a tradition of sort of kind of progressive thinking and sort of trying to take the college and sort of attitudes in Cambridge forward in Pembroke for sure.
Did you see that happening when you were on JPC?
Yeah, definitely. There were always students, fighting the case of students that potentially, college were looking to take certain decisions at points, and there were always students there, kind of speaking up for those that were potentially not being considered in the first instance, and making sure that their voices were heard. And I know for a fact that that is continuing with this JPC, and I imagine will continue with future JPCs. So
delightful. Well, thank you so much for chatting to me today, Will. It's been lovely to have you on.
Thank you. No, it's been a pleasure.